Welcome back to another episode of Phenomena Séance. This is episode 5. Wow, we're already on the 5th episode. That means we've done 5 months of this show. How wonderful. I'm your host, Mimi Dibbs, and today I am so stoked, so incredibly honored to be able to conjure such an amazing guest, someone that I personally follow on all platforms. She is amazing. She is wonderful. The lovely Taylor. Yay! Hi.
Hi. I'm excited to be here. Also, that's such a nice intro. Thank you.
Of course. She also goes by Skeptical Heretic on platforms, in case you know her by that name. How was it to be conjured up by the Ouija board? Was it weird? Did it feel strange to just kind of appear out of the ether?
It felt great.
Oh, good.
It felt great. Yes, I'm into it. So yeah, I'm excited.
Love that. Yeah, I was actually thinking, like, right before we hopped on, that I was like, I wonder if there's any like Christians that would watch it and be like, oh, she's working with the devil. She is conjuring. She's conjuring spirits, and she is working with demons. And I'm like, all right, clearly this show's not for you if you're thinking that this show is demonic, because you listen to like 3 seconds of it and it's just like people talking, but okay.
People definitely accuse me of that all the time, and I'm like, damn, Satan's pretty boring because I'm just chilling at my house most of the time. So
literally, yeah.
I guess if that's what he's into.
Exactly. Turns out Satan's really into free will. It's crazy. Yeah, really wild stuff. But yay, I'm so happy that we could make this work. I know obviously you have a very busy schedule, and so I'm glad we could like find a time. And also I'm so glad to like have more people on the show, because obviously for like the holidays I took a little bit of a break, and then this is just once a month, but I'm still sometimes like toward the very end of the month, I'm like, wow, what am I going to do? So with you, it felt a lot more like I'm finally getting my feet under me for this show. Because like for Phenomena, the regular Phenomena, we have everything kind of like scheduled out, blocked off. We've been doing it for like 5 seasons already, so it's like nothing new. But for this one, I'm still trying to kind of be like, oh my God, now I have to work with like someone else that I'm recording with and not just myself. So it's like a whole other, yeah, it's a whole other thing. And then obviously with the whole like, oh, let's separately record audio so that it whatever sounds good. But I promise it'll sound great. But yay! So obviously for the show, as I mentioned, it is super like laid back, low key. We're basically just going to answer the 2 pressing questions I'm sure everyone is wondering. What's your favorite phenomenon? And then if you have any personal phenomena stories. So I'll let you answer whichever one of those you want to answer first.
Probably like as far as like human behavior or just anything, or
yeah, that's a good question. I feel like in terms of I mean it could be really anything, like I guess the phenomena of religion would be a good one that I think is probably like right up your alley in terms of themes. But also it could just be like any cryptid if you're really super into Mothman or Loch Ness Monster or something like that.
Yeah. Well, I was going to talk about cognitive dissonance, but I don't know if that's like the direction you like to go.
No, okay. I think so. I don't think we've ever talked about cognitive dissonance.
I also do love cryptids, though. I'm going through a cryptid crochet book of like different creatures, and it's so fun. But
oh my God,
cognitive dissonance is definitely like a thing I have been very interested in when it comes specifically to evangelicals and them also being MAGA, and how I would watch it all unfold and still unfolding every single day when it comes to Christian morals versus undying loyalty to a political figure, and kind of the way they have to I mean, it's very uncomfortable, I'm sure, when they come to those times where they're contradicting each other obviously if you support Trump and you are the type of Christian to focus on things like Jesus, you're going to have a lot of cognitive dissonance going on, and I see that in a ton of different ways, so I don't know if you want me to be specific with those
sure.
or not.
Yeah,
okay.
Of course.
All right. One of the biggest things that I notice is evangelicalism is big into purity culture and sexual morality. And I found it so interesting that they had no issue at all with Trump partaking in their so-called sexual immorality is what they would call it. He's been divorced 3 times. He's cheated on all of his wives. He, you know, we know he has paid sex workers before, like he's been involved with that, and then obviously best friends with Epstein, and, you know, accusations made towards him, and then him being found liable of SA. And I just find all of that interesting because all of that can be ignored, but I heard them say a lot when the election was happening about how Kamala Harris was
slept her way to the top.
Yes.
Oh my fucking
God.
a
a disgusting whore because she had some politician boyfriend forever ago. And I just find it interesting how they're able to totally ignore Trump's life when, you know, by their playbook it's 10 times worse. But yeah, I see that kind of stuff every single day. And just the way he acts as a person, I find it interesting because in Christianity, a lot of people say you cannot be Christian without repentance. And Donald Trump has been asked directly, have you ever asked God for forgiveness? And he said no. He said he's never done that. But yet he's still considered the Christian candidate or whatever, the candidate that God would want out of everybody, which is absolutely ridiculous. So yeah, there's a lot of that, and I find it very, very interesting, especially growing up evangelical and being told what was acceptable and what's not. And then I see somebody who's like the antithesis of everything they said, and they're like worshiping the ground he walks on. So it's definitely an interesting thing to watch.
It's really weird to be on the other side of it, and like even pointing these things out and having people double, triple down on their beliefs. And it really is very akin to kind of like a religious psychosis, obviously, in terms of like, mass hysteria, which is a phenomenon that we've covered a ton of times on the channel. I think it starts with cognitive dissonance. I think cognitive dissonance is a good gateway for people to then fully get themselves into this like mass psychosis, and it's weird because it's a shared psychosis, right? It's like how it's there's tons of like cases of people all, for example, like if they all see like a UFO, sometimes they're like, whoa, it's all mass psychosis. Like everyone saw the same thing. And that's what's so crazy to me is when you and I are like people that, you know, have kind of a clearer understanding of what's going on in reality, see it and point it out, they're still able to turn and find people that share the same belief systems. So I obviously think that this goes, you know, they've been groomed and prepped by the Christian faith to just go along with something and not question it. And especially obviously like the rampant misogyny that is so like potent within Christianity, I think has a lot to do with it. I also personally feel like the biggest problem is that they don't know how to reconcile the fact that they want free will. They want to be able to like utilize free will because Christianity is so like restrictive. But so when they see someone like Trump, they're like, oh, well, he's relatable. He's someone just like me. He's not a politician that's all perfect and blah, blah, blah. Yep. He's just like the guy on the street. Like, yeah, we all make mistakes. And who are we to judge a guy for making some mistakes? And it's like, okay, so at the end of the day, what you're saying is you feel stuck, and like your religion is making you feel like you are constantly getting everything wrong. So thereby, like for them, I feel like by choosing another idol that is almost like worse than they are, it makes them feel better about their shortcomings, because then they're like, oh, well, he's chosen by Jesus and I'm not nearly as bad as he is. So I must, you know what I mean? Like if he's chosen by God, then I'm totally fine. It's this weird self-preservation thing, I think, going on. It's really bizarre.
Definitely a way to really excuse anything he does, because if he does anything horrible, you can just say, well, God uses imperfect people or whatever the saying is. And then they give examples from the Bible and I'm like, well, you know, all these things aren't created equal, but for a lot of these people, they'll pretend like all acts are created equal because a lot of them think all sins are created equal, which is a problem in itself. But another interesting thing involved in that is the amount that conspiracy theories have like played a role in their cognitive dissonance, because the cognitive dissonance gets so bad to the point where you're denying reality and the things around you. And I know a lot of people who, when Trump got elected the first time, got very, very heavily into QAnon and conspiracies, and that tied into evangelicalism in so many different ways. And it was so crazy to watch this all go down, because especially if you used to be a part of it, you're a part of something that you think is, I don't know, not too crazy. A lot of times when you're in evangelicalism, you're in these like quote unquote non-denominational churches that seem pretty chill from the outside. They're just like, come
they have, like,
in your
youth
jeans and like drink coffee. Yeah, exactly. But the whole faith thing in general, it's building this thing of, I can believe things that have no proof or evidence for it. Therefore, it's so easy for them to go from that into QAnon, and those are the type of people that are targeted with those kind of narratives. And it's really unfortunate, but I think that they fall victim to a lot of that, and then they create other victims, and it's an endless cycle.
I guess I just realized that for any listeners that might not be fully familiar with what cognitive dissonance means, I guess, can you explain it really quickly for people if they're like, what is that? I'm sure people have experienced it or seen it firsthand.
Right. It's just kind of when you have beliefs, values, morals that are conflicting with each other, and it's an uncomfortable feeling, and to avoid that uncomfortable feeling of having these contradicting beliefs, you can go as far as to deny reality, but you could also just try to explain things away, or
like find loopholes.
I don't know. Stuff yeah, exactly.
Like find little ways to be like, well, no, because actually this and that, and cherry picking, I think, is a huge thing.
Yeah.
I think that's what a lot of Christians I've seen like resort to is, oh, well, it's not the whole Bible supposed to be taken seriously. Right. It's just some of it. It was written so long ago, and a lot of it is a metaphor for how to be a good person, and they don't mean actually do it. But it's like, it is really, I get obviously when they try to make those excuses for like, how the Bible says that like women on their period need to be like thrown in a barn for 7 days or whatever the fuck, and like avoided at all costs, because God forbid, like mind you, I this is a whole other discussion about the fact that like women literally play God and in creating humanity, but that's a whole other story. Just the fact that like, obviously, when it comes to things like that, you could be like, oh, well, that's barbaric, and that's because it was written at a time where blah, blah, blah. But the morals still are prevalent. And it's like, okay, but like the way that I see it, I think that there are several other ways to get morals. I think Aesop's Fables is a really great one. Like for me personally, whenever I talk to people and I'm like, I'm atheist and I don't plan on raising my children whenever I have kids, like in any sort of like religion, like if they are interested in learning more, they absolutely can. I'm not going to like restrict them from it, but I'm not trying to like raise them with any set beliefs, especially. And then they're like, how are you going to teach morals? I'm like, you ever heard of Aesop's Fables? Aesop's Fables are like the oldest like fables that we've used to teach morals. It's literally Boy Who Cried Wolf is an Aesop's Fable. The tortoise and the hare is an Aesop's Fable. And Aesop's Fables always have to do with like little like woodland creatures, or like, it's very easy to understand.
They're like storytelling.
They're storytelling, and they always have a moral story at the end. Like obviously Boy Who Cried Wolf, you can't say, if the more you say things and it turns out to be wrong, the less believable you are, so you should watch the amount of times that you like don't lie, basically. And then for Tortoise and the Hare, slow and steady wins the race. There's always a moral, quite literally. And like I have the Aesop's Fables book. I think you can get it really anywhere, but like it is a collection of all these fables, and Aesop is from literally from the time of like philosophers. Like Aesop was alive, I believe, when like Plato maybe, or like around there. Like he was a Greek philosopher basically. So I'm like, okay, that's also like if people are like, oh, well, that's, not as old and as true as the Bible. It's like, yeah, it is. There are plenty of other ways to teach morality.
Yeah, and it's frustrating because they do act as if Christianity created morality. Like when they, I'll argue a bunch with people about the 10 Commandments being in public schools, and a lot of them will say, oh, well, that's just a good rule of thumb, like set of rules or whatever. I'm like, it's really not. But on top of that, the basic things that come from the 10 Commandments that I agree with for the most part are like, don't kill and steal or whatever.
Yeah.
They didn't invent that, but that's hard to tell to people a lot of these people who advocate for this stuff are young earth creationists, so they think the earth is only 6,000 years old, and they think their religion is the oldest religion, which is a lie. They have a hard time accepting that, or they just don't believe that things like the Golden Rule existed in Hinduism and other places before it existed in the Bible. But you can't tell that to somebody who believes that the earth is only as old as like 6,000 years and that there was no before their religion.
Yeah.
Which is super frustrating.
No, for sure. I think that also gets to the whole discussion of like the deficit in education potentially and the fact that like there's two different camps, I think. One is there is clearly like an education deficit and a problem in the US, and I think that uneducated people are much easier to kind of manipulate with things like religion and things like beliefs, and trying to like tell them that like, oh, this is above you. You don't understand it because you're dumb, and you never will, because God is omnipotent, and
thought.
Thoughts stopping cliches. Yes, exactly. And it's like I think that kind of does go hand in hand with the whole idea of like the less in science and like modern science especially that you believe, the more you can kind of like work to create your own little reality that is separate from the reality we're all living in. And I think that's like the main thing about the channel on Phenomena that we try to always make sure is crystal clear. At the end of each episode, we say, let's explore the rabbit hole without falling all the way down. Because I'm like, there is like the conspiracy theory, the phenomena to conspiracy theory, like the line between the two is razor thin, I feel like sometimes. And we don't deal in conspiracy theories on the channel. Like I will never entertain like a full-on conspiracy theory. We'll talk about the different theories throughout history and like what people used to think, for example, Aurora Borealis were, and like through science what we've found that they are now. And mind you, there's several like phenomena that I have yet to be like understood. But on the channel we're not trying to like bring an answer to them. We're just trying to discuss them and be in wonder at the fact that there are things in the universe that are still mysterious, but without trying to like get caught up with having an answer. And I feel like that's truly the main thing that people that are super, super religious, they can't live in the nebulous, like unknown.
Yeah,
they're so
and there's no
uncomfortable in the unknown. They need to know God is real. They need to know this is, oh, well, someone told me, oh my God, thank God. Now I can stop stressing about it. And it's like, why are you stressing about it in the first place? I get it. It can be a lot, but it's like, maybe you're not meant to know every single thing in, I don't know. Sometimes we find different ways to plug things in, even if they don't fit, because it plugs a hole and then they feel better about it.
Right, and I think a lot of that is attributed to, in religion, there's no nuance, there's no gray areas, every single thing is black and white, so it's really hard for them to evaluate information and look at it honestly. And it is a shame when it comes to conspiracy theories. I think there was a point where they were like just kind of fun or silly or something to, just look at. And ever since, for me personally, ever since QAnon came along, I can like I feel terrible sometimes, but I can't even talk about them. Like I have a friend who she thinks it's fun to talk about or like whatever, which is fine. But I feel like I'm so scarred by it that I'm like, no, like I can't even talk about it because it's so, it's so, I don't know, triggering to me to watch people go down
the rabbit hole
way of thinking. Yeah. And then I used to spend hours reading that subreddit, the QAnon casualties, if you've ever heard of that.
No. I gotta read it.
It's basically people who have lost their loved ones to QAnon conspiracy theories because it tears apart families. It's so bad. But I also want to mention with the gaps in knowledge when it comes to evangelicalism, it sucks to see how often they homeschool their kids as well, because then there is no outside information getting to the kids, and that really, really bothers me. And I also see a lot of people now coming out of that where they were homeschooled in like young earth creationism or evangelicalism, and they come out into the real world and they're really angry because I've heard them call it like academic abuse, which makes a lot of sense.
Totally.
And it's a really tricky topic to talk about with people because I don't know. Obviously, I mean, I believe there should be regulations and stuff with homeschooling.
Totally.
But yeah. And like, it's just, it sucks because the more people they raise up to be that way, the easier it is to control people. And that's why typically people on that side of the things try and demonize education, because when you...
College radicalized my child.
Right.
It's like, really? Higher education radicalized your child? Like...
Really? Yeah. And a lot of times it'll be like, it couldn't possibly be the fact that they went to college, met new people, had different experiences, or learned new information.
Right.
And then, went about life differently. But it was interesting. I actually went to a graduation ceremony for someone in my life, like someone in my life's kid, and they were at a Christian school. And they talked for probably 45 minutes about how you have to be careful when you leave because, like, there's this percentage chance that you could become an atheist and they'll try and convince you God isn't real. And it's a huge thing for them because they're so afraid of people going to college and then no longer being fundamentalist. And and I think they're even scared of progressive Christians. Like, even just becoming a progressive Christian is a problem for them. You have to stay fundamentalist. You have to stay young earth creationist. It's ridiculous.
I
hate it.
No, same, because like also on our channel, I used to have a thing where I mentioned women in STEM every single episode. I don't do it, and definitely for like the first 2 seasons I was like women in STEM, but like I mean, if that doesn't drive home the point that we believe science and we believe, especially women in STEM. I'm like, I'm not a woman in STEM. I'm not very good at math or science, but I love women in STEM and we need more of them. Especially in like the health field. Like, it's just insane how little we understand about like the female bodies because because all the doctors were male for a really long time.
Right.
And they didn't give a shit about looking into, female bodies or anything like that. But I feel like, sometimes for like the phenomena that we cover, we'll always look at what the like science has to say about it. And of course, like there's some times where like for the most recent episode we had up the Hessdalen lights, which are these weird twinkly lights. Speaking of twinkly lights. No. But there's these weird twinkly lights that will like appear in the sky in Hessdalen, which is in Norway. I was going to say Denmark. Norway.
Okay.
And for that one, a lot of researchers have tried to research it and study like how they happen or what occurs. But the fact of the matter is although they might all be lights that appear in the sky, we don't, like, sometimes some of them act differently. So they could just be as a result of different things. And when you have a bunch of lights as a result of differing reasons, then it's much harder for obviously people to like actually study and recreate and whatnot.
Right.
So like when it comes to things like that, it's fascinating to see that like, wow, like that's a really tough one for science to really be able to pin down. But that doesn't mean it's anything other than a few electromagnetic, electrons and protons, whatever, reacting to each other. Or there's something... I think one of the theories that we talked about was something about electromagnetic. Again, I'm very not a woman in STEM at all. That's why I need my script writers to write the scripts, and then they'll do like the research and make sure that it sounds really smart, and I'll relay that information. But like at the end of the day, we're always trying to hammer home the point for every episode that like we believe science, like even if it's the least sexy possibility, like for example for Bigfoot, right? Everyone like wants to believe like Bigfoot. I get it. And then one of the like scientific explanations is that like some of the sightings could have been bears that people, but when you're so already afraid of this creature and you're in the woods and you hear some weird stuff and you see this 7-foot tall hairy thing, you're like, oh my God, Bigfoot. And it's like, more something like a phenomenon really takes off and gains this notoriety, it's hard for people to get that out of their heads. And sometimes they'll fall all the way into that versus kind of trying to use the logical part of your brain, which is to say that, hey, maybe it was a weirdly shaped something or other. Maybe it was, I honestly, during the Bigfoot episode, I was like, what if it's just a wook? Like, it could just be like a wook that like wants to camp out in the woods, maybe hasn't showered, probably has like a long beard, like whatever. People go off the grid all the time. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so if you saw someone that happened to be really burly and tall and hairy and whatever, like, it's not all that far off to assume that maybe you saw someone that resembled Bigfoot, but at the end of the day, what is it really? And let's not discount that just because the scientific the scientific reasoning is a little less like doesn't make for as sensational of a story. And I think a lot of times people are so drawn to like big stories, and they almost feel like if something's like not like it's Occam's razor. I always come back to. Which is the like belief that the simplest thing is usually correct.
Like the most boring answer is usually
the right one, right? And people are like, no, it can't be. There must be more. And it's like, but maybe there isn't, and that's okay. Like it's still, I think, a very interesting thing to look back and be like, whoa, look at how big this got. Regardless, that in and of itself is something to really marvel at. The like ability for people to latch onto things and really like sensationalize it and make it so huge. And I do think that like religion is a huge like example of that, because like it's almost like
they I think the matter of the fact is religion in a big part was created to answer a lot of the questions we don't have answers for. And like what you said earlier, unknowns are very uncomfortable for a lot of people, especially if you've been in religion your entire life. I think it's super uncomfortable. A lot of Christians seem confused why I'm okay with saying I don't know to certain things instead of just, I don't know, pretending I know or putting something in the blank. And because they always demand, it's so interesting. Christians can say, X, Y, and Z happened because of God, and we're supposed to accept that as an answer. But then they accept me to be a scientist, a biologist. They expect me to be able to explain every single part of our universe. And I'm like, wait, that's not very... And then they act like that's equal. I was like, hold on.
Right.
That's not very fair. I can say I trust the science, right? But there are also things I don't understand, and I can say that. But it's not fair that you act like because I'm not putting God in those gaps of knowledge we have, I have to be a scientist, a biologist, whatever. That doesn't make any sense. I also explained to them that, when there are a lot of things in the past that we attributed to the supernatural, the example I always use is like seizures, when they thought it was like some kind of demonic possession. I'm like, a lot of times when we believe that stuff, every single time we've discovered something, it's not the supernatural. Yeah. It's the, with stuff like that we have discovered. So when they tell me certain things are God, I'm like, listen, I just go with the probability of what has happened so far. Right. I'm going to think it's something that eventually we can scientifically explain. And a lot of times I get FOMO where I'm like, I'm going to die before we discover a bunch of really cool stuff. But that's besides the point. I'm okay with saying I don't know versus, oh, God's the most likely explanation, which I don't even think is true at all.
I think like there's two things that really irk me a lot. And consistently so. And I don't like, there's part of me that I'm like, I don't know why this, me spending the time being bothered by this is just a waste of time because what's the point? But like, it really bothers me when two things happen. When someone is like, thank God, when someone's in surgery for like fucking 10 hours, I'm like, thank God, thank the fucking surgeon that just worked an overnight shift to save your loved one. What do you mean, thank God?
Yeah.
Also, I'd be fucking pissed. If I was the surgeon, I'd be like, yeah, no, you're welcome. Or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like the years of medical school came in like
Right,
what?
right.
Also, even sometimes you have people in those professions. You have doctors and lawyers that are Christian, and I'm like, huh? That's prime example of cognitive dissonance, I think, because it's like you don't trust that your brain did the studying and was able to figure it out. It's almost like a cop-out for like them not believing in themselves and being like, well, it must be God. God's hand must have had something to do with it because I couldn't have done it. It's what? Don't sell yourself short. Like, what?
Yeah, because then they still attribute it to God by saying God gave me the ability to like pass this test or whatever. But it's like, if you wouldn't have studied, you wouldn't have passed the test. So,
right.
Yeah.
It's like, don't.
It sucks because it doesn't give people... I feel like it stops people from having confidence in themselves and what they're capable of, and instead just giving all of it to
all the credit,
it all to God. Yeah.
Yes, and I did like 5 weeks of law school, like before I as I was starting the YouTube channel, I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do. My mom's like, just go back to law school. You'd be a great lawyer. I'm like, no, but anyway, I like give it a shot. Obviously, that was only a 5-week endeavor. But throughout it, obviously, I realized a lot of things, which the main one being that a lot of law is deductive reasoning, right? You have to like deduce to get somewhere. And the things that are admissible in court have to be so fucking evidence-based, like sometimes like to the point where it's like, here is the body, here is the stab wound, this is how we know they were stabbed, like, but then you have certain lawyers that are like religious, and I'm like, explain to me this, because what do you mean you just went to school for how many ever years to study the art of deductive reasoning, and the fact that in our court systems you can't just go, well, it's in God's hands. They'd be like, okay, where's the evidence though? And sometimes frustratingly so, because I'm not saying that the law is by any means perfect in any way. Right. I think there's a lot that, is wrong with the law. Mainly, I think the fact that it's always reactive. It's never proactive, because the second you try to make a proactive law, people will be like, my rights are being taken away. Yeah. It's basically, we need to wait until something fucking goes haywire or someone dies a horrific death for us to go, like, it's a precedence. You need to set a precedence and say, look at this awful thing that happened. This is why we can't do this, which is insane and stupid. I think it's just like a very idiotic thing that is part of the law. And then also for the law, it's too slow, especially for what's happening with the current administration, how they're just like bombarding left and right. Like, people are like, the law's not working. It's like, yeah, the law's working. It's just working at a fucking like glacial pace. Like, everything has probably been filed, but now it's going to be years until it gets through the courts, through the blah, blah, blah. And then and then I was talking to one of the other law professors or whatever, because I was like, can you please help me understand what the hell is going on with this whole like Trump administration bullshit, and like how they're fucking like not going to jail for others. Like I keep hearing from lawyers, this is illegal, this is illegal, this is illegal. I'm like, okay, well then where's the repercussions then? Like, why don't we?
I know. I almost get mad when I hear like they can't do that. It's like, obviously they can, because like nothing's stopping them and they keep getting away with it.
Exactly. And my teacher actually said something really interesting that is also another like point of annoyance for me about the law, is the fact that the law was, and a lot of laws were created with the idea of like good faith agreements. It's basically like the gentleman's agreement, if you will, where like when laws, for a while, laws were followed in a way that was like, I'm going to go ahead and assume that you and I are doing business in good faith. And like, good faith is out the window with this administration. Yeah, there's no fucking good faith. Good faith is not in the room with us. So it's like, the law doesn't have a way to deal with people that are so manipulative and completely void of any sort of the good faith thing. And I think a lot of it has to do with like the same tactics that a lot of religion uses, which is the whole idea of like, oh, you have to break a few eggs to make an omelet or whatever. You have to break a few laws in order for the greater good to be achieved for all. And it's the whole like Project 2025 fucking Heritage Foundation bullshit. And it's like, that's where I'm like, okay, get your fucking shit out of like like America was founded as a religion-free country. So meaning anyone has the ability to practice any or none religion. It does not mean that you can infiltrate the government with your morality as you see it, you know, from your religion and then attribute it to everyone or make and then like basically judge everyone by that same way. It's so bizarre.
And one thing that I have learned, especially the past couple of years, is I should have never been shocked when I saw evangelicals supporting authoritarianism. They have already, they've already done the heavy lifting to support that the entire time they're in the religion. And you don't recognize that when you're in it. I certainly didn't. But like when there is one ultimate authority, you have to do a lot of mental gymnastics to be able to keep with it, to keep supporting it, to keep that authority good. And that's what we see them doing with Trump. So they can do that with the entire thing happening right now, just with the Trump admin in general. It's not a far leap for them to just start supporting authoritarianism. So that's why I feel like I shouldn't be shocked whenever they defend like a woman getting shot in the face, even if they're pro-life. Yeah. Because the cognitive dissonance, it's gonna be there in every aspect of their lives. And I think for a while I was in denial about that because I'm like, no, these people in my life, they say they care so much about freedom and like everybody having their freedom, but I think that was a lie. I don't know if that was intentional or not, but I think they only want their freedoms and what they want. Yeah. And everything else is irrelevant because Christian nationalism is the opposite of freedom. Yeah. That is
it's literally the two what they want. Yeah, the two are like complete antonyms and it's also the idea that Christianity wants to be the only one that's right. It's like you don't see Hinduism, you don't see all these other, like Judaism too. You don't see fucking people being like, we're right and you're wrong and we have to save you. It's like, no, I'll go ahead and practice my thing. You go ahead and practice your thing and we're cool. Like it's fine. Like we can coexist in this way. That doesn't mean that your religion has to freaking take over. Like it's this it's this idea of like total control. And like back to the cognitive dissonance thing, like I do think that a lot of it is them not thinking rather that the pain and the shame and embarrassment of being honest with themselves and saying, hey, you know, maybe I got really swept up in this and now I'm there were doubts in my mind and now I'm starting to like fully put, you know, the logical part of my brain together. And I think that a lot of people, I commend a lot of people that are able to do that because I'm sure it's definitely not easy. But B, like, I don't think it's as painfully impossible as so many people think it's going to be. And that's not to say that it's not hard because it absolutely is hard. A lot of people have like full, you know, family and stuff that would disown them if they even voiced anything like that. I totally understand that it's not just easy, but what I mean is like the world isn't gonna fall apart if you try to apply logic to things and start to acknowledge that maybe you were led astray or maybe this admin isn't who they say they were. They you know what I mean? Like there's different, like the cognitive dissonance between like, oh, grocery prices are going to go down. Grocery prices are going up. Unemployment's going to go down. Unemployment's gone up. There's like tariffs are going to disappear. There's still tariffs. Gas prices are going to go down. They're all up. Like there are so many things that at some point it's like, that's why I think everyone's like, are you kidding me? How many more things is it going to take for people to be like, oh my God, like, yeah, no, you were right. This is actually not a good situation. And I think part of that is they think that like they are so afraid of sitting there and being honest about that, because it's almost like it feels like the rug is being pulled out from under you, or like your ground that you're standing on crumbles, and then all of a sudden you're just in free fall. And I think a lot of people really are absolutely like terrified of what it's like to not have a solid direction. And but like I'm here to say also with like phenomenon stuff, I always try to like, the deeper message is it's okay to not know. Like, we are all on the same boat, and it's fine. And that's why there are people that study things like this. That's why I think it's very important to believe the scientists in the field, because they're the ones that are dedicating their lives to the study of whatever they're looking into. But also like, what's that? I don't know if it's a quote, or what's that idea that like the smartest people are the ones that agree that they don't know everything.
Yeah, I don't know like I know what you're talking about, but I don't know the
I don't know what it's the exact word for it, but yeah, it's like the dumbest people are the ones.
Oh, the Dunning-Kruger effect or whatever.
Yes, I think so. Where it's like the people that think they know everything and stop learning effectively. That's what a lot of like evangelicals do, is they know everything, therefore there is nothing else to learn. And it's like, what are you talking about? There's always more to learn. There's always new things that we are exploring. There's always different phenomena that we still can't explain. But like you said, it's really kind of, when you can reframe it to be like exciting that we are working to try to figure this stuff out, it's like the idea of like where we can go as a society with that knowledge can be really exciting versus terrifying. How some people view it as like, it's the death of morals, it's the death of any sort of sanity, and everyone's just gonna do it's anarchy. And it's like, no, like it doesn't have to be.
It sucks because I feel like the thing that has the biggest hold on people is that it is about their identity as well. Like, them supporting MAGA isn't just them supporting MAGA, it's an identity. And that's how it is with Christianity as well. It's like, it's more than their religion, it's who they are. And that's why I feel like the number one pushback I get is because people feel so personally attacked. Like, they feel if I am bringing up something about religion that I think is genuinely harmful, and one thing I try to be very careful about doing is talking about the system and the belief itself rather than criticizing individuals, because just whatever. And people know, even if I am very specific with my words and keep those two things separate, they will always feel like I'm personally coming after them and being hateful, because they cannot separate the system they're a part of from them, because they are a part of the system. And I think that's exactly what MAGA is. It's more than just their politics. It's more than just a leader they're following. It is their literal identity. It is their personality. It's who they are. And when you're asking somebody to reevaluate who they are, reevaluate their identity, that's pretty much impossible, it feels like.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Or a lot of people have a lot of like pushback to that. They have a very like visceral reaction to being told that maybe they're not, part of the group that's in the right. And then, I think cognitive dissonance can sometimes also lead to a lot of this like weird conspiratorial, like us versus them. Well, of course they're going to prosecute us. Of course they're going to call us dumb. Of course they're going to blah, blah, blah.
It's the persecution complex.
It's the victimness of everyone's out to get us, and we are the small group of people that know the truth, and they're trying to suppress the truth. And it's like, okay, that's very tinfoil hat.
And it leads so well into like fake media and like stuff. And I've done a lot of research into Christian nationalism and kind of how all that works. And it's just so interesting to watch how different authoritarian leaders, that was one of the first thing they did, was making sure, basically a lot of people didn't trust anything else besides what they were saying. And Christianity does that so often already. like there was somebody saying this the other day, but I hear it all the time where, oh, people are angry at you just because they don't like God, or people are criticizing Christianity just because they don't like Jesus. Right. And they always pull up this Bible verse of, if they hate you, they hated me first, which, oh my gosh, rolling my eyes at that all the time because I'm like, get over yourself. Like, you're not God. Shut up. Literally. But they're always this thing of, if they're criticizing you or they're against you, it's just because you're right and they don't like that, or they're broken or they're lost. And I'm like, if you have to preemptively dismiss every single person who gives you any kind of criticism, that is your system being extremely fragile. That's not a strong system to be a part of. Because if a Christian tells me about their experience, it doesn't do anything to me. I'll have my opinions on it, but I don't have to tell them they're lying. Like, if a Christian tells me, I had this experience with God, I say, okay. Never once have I been like, you're lying. Right. Because I don't have to say that. And I don't have to say they're making it up. Sure. I can just say, okay, well, this is why I still don't believe, like, in God or whatever. And I find it so interesting that they cannot do that. And I think that's just an example of a fragile system if you cannot hear out anything different than you. And that's what MAGA does as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think like not being able to have a conversation that like brings up different points. I think that's also like very, like when you look at science, a lot of times like the scientific community it's all about trying to prove your thing wrong until it cannot be proven wrong. Like
because it's not their identity.
That's what I think people also don't understand about the scientific process, is that when there's like a theory and whatever and a hypothesis, again, I'm not a woman in STEM, so I'm not going to say this in the most eloquent way possible, but you know what I mean? Like it's once someone brings something up or thinks they've figured something out, they will bring it to to other scientists, and it is the job of the other scientists to find holes in it, to find out how this could be dismantled in a scientific way. And until they reach a point where it's like, no, I mean, hundreds of scientists have looked at this and they all come to the same conclusion because there is no other conclusion besides this.
Right.
It's like, that's how I feel confident in knowing that is a universal truth, right? The earth goes around the sun because people cannot deny that. You can't come up with another scientifically backed reason for why that's not the case. But I do really respect that all scientists, they're all trying to freaking like call each other out for bullshit. You know what I mean? Right. I like that. And I think that that's healthy because that's how like, I think that, you know, discourse should function. You should be able to take criticism and you know, understand it from a point where it's not like a personal attack to you. It's more like, okay, well, what are you saying about the system as a whole? And let me kind of separate myself and just kind of like posit these theories. I think like a lot of times they feel even uncomfortable in the theorizing of it all. And it's like, that's what's so fascinating to me is that like, I think it's just, it's the more you find a more tethered version of yourself and your morals. Like, I think one thing that you said that really like stuck out to me was that like, if someone says that you're lying or something, it doesn't affect you. That's like, for me, I feel very strongly about my morals, to the point where like I'm never going, like if I like sometimes like I posted a video that said we should tranquilize ICE because we should act like they are like, hear me out, we should act like they're animals that have escaped a zoo and are now terrorizing.
They're domestic terrorists.
Yeah, we literally, what do we do when a fucking like giraffe or a zebra or some shit or like a lion escape the zoo? We got we got the choppers out, we got the different whatever, we got drones, we got footage. This is what we need to do. We need to tranquilize them, and then we need to get them the fuck out of here because you are a violent threat to everyone here. Yeah. So like, whatever. And what like my fiance sometimes will be like, well, what if you get people like push you back on that? I'm like, here's the thing is that I know for a fact where I stand on that, and I know for a fact it's morally correct because I will never be on the side of someone shooting a woman in the face and calling it okay. Like, there's so many things that I feel so strongly about. Like, I know I'm on the right side of history. I know I'm on the right side of history because I want everyone to just do whatever the fuck they want. That's what free will is. You want to be gay, be gay. You want to be trans, be trans. You want to do this, do that. Like, it doesn't fucking matter. And that's the main thing about Christianity is that, like, and to be fair, like, a lot of other religions kind of get that too. They're like, yeah, I'm going to do my thing, but I have friends that are blah, 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 and whatever. And like, if their religion brings them some sort of semblance of peace and understanding and community, then, you know, who am I to tell them, no, you can't be religious? The problem is when you fucking take your religion and say, this needs to apply to everyone, and you're wrong, and my religion's right, and this is why, and now I'm personally going to feel attacked if you say I'm wrong. It's like, okay, clearly there's, like, stop trying to fucking cannibalize everything. It makes no sense.
I feel like the biggest disconnect is the vertical and the horizontal morality thing of totally. And it sucks because obviously if a lot of people's priority is other human beings and like how it impacts other human beings and their health or whatever, but the other person instead is prioritizing a hypothetical being.
Right.
It's like, how do you even make a case to those people because they don't care? Exactly. I mean, they can say they care about other people through God because God wants them to care, but it's always going to be God first though.
Exactly.
So if what God wants harms other people, then so be it. That is how it works for them. And I'm like, but I don't care about your hypothetical God. So yeah, I'm going to care more about how it impacts other people rather than, you know, what you think your God thinks, because I don't give a shit. But the thing is, they know how that feels because when, in New York, when Mamdani was elected, all these Christian fundamentalists were freaking out, saying that he was
the Quran or whatever.
Yes, and he said that he was like a Muslim fundamentalist, and I'm like, isn't that so funny?
Yeah.
Isn't that so funny that first of all, he's not, but second of all, isn't that so funny that if that were to happen, you wouldn't be okay with it, but you want everyone else to be okay with your fundamentalism. Yes. It makes me so angry. It's totally like, so you can put yourself in other people's shoes. You can imagine what that feels like. So it makes me so angry because now all of a sudden they'll be like, well, we shouldn't let any Muslims be in any position in government. I'm like, if you're like, it's so funny to me how quick they're able to justify discriminating against people based on their religion. But if you were to do that to them, they already have a persecution complex.
Right, 100%.
They'd be throwing up, shitting, sliding down a wall if we did that to them. So 100%. I'm not sure why they're so quick to do it to others. It's so transparent to everybody else watching. Well, it's frustrating.
No, totally. I think that, like, I do think that the main thing that we can hope to kind of achieve is because I am super interested in cults, but like I have read a lot, I've listened to a lot, I've watched a lot of stuff about all cults imaginable, like Heaven's Gate, the Manson family, obviously, freaking Om Shinrikyo.
Just Mormons in general.
Yeah, oh yeah, FLDS for sure, FLDS. Oh my God, Mormonism in general is so fascinating. Scientology is also a really interesting one and very strange. That is still very weirdly, like, Scientology, that's a whole other, we need to have a part 2 about Scientology because that's just crazy. But I feel like there's all these other, like, I think that the main thing that we can hope to do is hope that they take some of this in, even if in the discourse they seem like they're completely shut out to it. You never know what their subconscious might remember. And then you never know, because in a lot of it, I've read a lot of books from people that have, you know, left really, really dangerous cults. And it, you know, it could be any dangerous belief system that is oppressive, right? And I think it always starts off with them being like, yeah, I don't know, there's just this nagging feeling, and their subconscious kind of starts to mull it over and is kind of like, and a lot of people, like, to your point, that go to college and learn, or a lot of people that live in big cities, it's been proven that big cities are more democratic usually because they're more diverse. You're not just around your cousins and aunts and uncles all the time, and it's not a small town where everyone knows everyone all the time. It's you get to experience what other people are like, and you meet a gay person and you're like, wait, they're like the nicest person in the world. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah. Like, oh, maybe they shouldn't be burning in hell.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe there's this weird thing. Like, I think that, like, truly it's being able to hopefully just, I guess, hope against all odds that they get the chance to meet other people that have differing views than them and realize that not everyone's out to get them, that not everyone's out to try to like suppress the truth. It's the fact that it's like everyone just wants to do whatever the fuck they want because that's what a free country is.
I do unfortunately feel like it has so much to do with exposure because I'm very much the black sheep of my family, and the only difference between me and them is that I worked and like was in different environments than they were. They've always been in the same areas, interacted with the same types of people that are mostly all like them, like white, Christian, whatever, straight. And in my early 20s, I started working for like a liberal company where there were all sorts of different people of different genders, sex, like religion, whatever. And that was when it very quickly started falling apart because you're no longer going off of, because my politics changed before my religious beliefs. You're no longer going based off of stereotypes you're being told.
Right.
You're no longer going off of secondhand information. Like you're having the experience, you're actually talking to the source. And when you do that, you're like, I remember thinking to myself, do I really believe that this person deserves to burn in hell and I don't? I remember specifically, I was working with one of my coworkers who was a trans woman, and we had this like 2-hour conversation about what it was like to watch each of our parents die. And I cried with them. We had such a, like, it was just such a beautiful conversation. And I remember when I walked away from that conversation, I felt I just felt sick to my stomach because I was like, why am I believing this? Yeah. Like, why am I believing that this person is wrong for who they are? Why am I believing that they deserve to go to hell? And moments like that, I was like, no, absolutely not. That doesn't make any sense. And even if that were true about the hell thing, I don't care. I'll go there too then. Because like that's evil at that point for me to just be like, fuck them. I'll go to heaven and then, worship the entity that's doing that to them. Like, that's so fucked up.
Yeah.
And it sucks because people can obviously change. I mean, people tell me all the time, why do you have these conversations? Nobody's going to change. I'm like, well, first of all, I did.
Yeah.
But it sucks because you can't force.
Yeah.
It's hard because you can't force a person to have the experience, but so badly, I want them to have different experiences so they can understand that it's not the way that they've been brought up to believe. And that's, I think, probably the most frustrating part is you can't make them have those experiences. They just have to do it, which is less likely if they're in a small town. Like what you said with cities, in small towns, if you're there your whole life, where are you going to have these experiences? Yeah. I don't know. Probably nowhere.
I just remembered, the second thing, because I mentioned there were two things that irked me. One of them was when people say thank God for when they're in the surgery. The other is when people go to like national forests or a place where like one of the world wonders, you know what I mean? They see something and they're like, you don't believe in God. Look at what he created. And it's
look at the trees.
Yeah. And
they always
like,
say that. Look at the trees.
I'm like... if anything, that makes me 10 toes down praise Mother Nature because what the fuck?
Right.
Like Mother Nature created this.
Right.
She is amazing. I can see.
Right.
Mother Nature, I can literally see with my eyes. Yeah. I can touch it. I can feel what Mother Nature has done with this, incredible, that you're allowed to be in
biology.
Awe. Yeah, you can be in awe by your surroundings. It doesn't mean that, oh my God, something is so seemingly perfect, it must be divine in the sense that it's, a Christian God that is responsible for it. It's just so crazy to me because, that comes with like, go and see other places and talk to other people. And I will say that like, even though it's frustrating. I think the main frustration that we have is that it's not happening fast enough. But I will say it's happening. It's still happening. The Hope Corps.
Oh yeah,
Hope
definitely
Corps is there because look back from the 50s until now. It is clear that the more educated people get, the more more people than ever have bachelor's degrees, for example. More people than ever are getting higher education, and I think that
more people are leaving religion,
right? Exactly,
much faster,
and more
rates.
people are traveling the world because they're starting to realize, wait a minute, I don't want to live for this make-believe land that might be real, might not be real. The only thing I know that is real is this life right now. So what do I want to do with it? Because I don't know what happens after that. And whatever it does, I don't want to be regretting that I spent all my time oppressing other people, telling them they were wrong.
Right.
You know what I mean? It just doesn't I think a lot of the times people are just wasting the one life they have. It makes me sad.
No, I agree. And one thing that does give me hope is I will get messages here and there on social media being like, hey, I used to argue with you, or hey, I used to hate your content so much. And then they'll be like, but I love it now. And I left religion or whatever. And it makes me so happy. Yeah. But also I think back, I'm like, hopefully I wasn't mean to you, but I don't remember.
It's fine. I'm sure
but
it's fine.
I think about that a lot because I think that sometimes people can only take things in certain doses to work up to a point where they can be able to hear certain things. Because I remember when I was leaving that space, I started watching videos from a progressive Christian, and I swear to you, I probably followed and unfollowed them 5 times before I was like, okay, I'm able to hear what they're saying. You know what I mean? Because it would hit some kind of spot where I'd be like, oh, that doesn't feel good, or oh, I believe in that, and how dare she say that? And then over time, give yourself some exposure to different opinions and thoughts, and you're like, okay, what she's saying makes a lot of sense. And I think a lot of people don't allow themselves those kind of opportunities to actually hear the other side because they feel some kind of guilt for it, because a lot of times a religion makes you feel guilt for hearing out other perspectives, which is what we all need.
It's the devil. It's the devil tempting you to blah 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 blah. Whatever. Any pleasure is bad. That's that. Yeah. My favorite answer to whenever someone's like, "What's your guilty pleasure?" I forgot who it was, but someone's like, "I don't believe pleasure is guilty," and I was like, "Wait, literally that part.
Yes,
that's so true because it's why are we denying ourselves little pleasures? Isn't that, I don't know, it's very fundamentalist to be suffering is good and you need to suffer.
The romanticizing suffering. Yeah. Oh my gosh, it gets to me. It's so frustrating to see. I definitely feel like I probably did it. I don't really remember, but I'm sure I did it when I was religious. But the way that it then seeps into the government and how it impacts everybody else. Totally. One thing that really frustrates me is because they romanticize suffering, they're against things like death with dignity, which I'm very much for. And so they strongly believe that people severely suffering at the end of their lives, if they don't want to go through that, well, too bad, because God wants you to go through that suffering. And you know what I mean? And it's that. And they don't believe in stuff like unnecessary suffering. I do. I don't think stuff needs to. I don't think you need to suffer. No. And they get confused where they're like, oh, well, you don't think good things can come out of suffering? And I'm like, I'm not saying something good can't come from it because they decided to do something with it. But no, it didn't need to happen. It didn't, we don't need this stuff for development. It's just really frustrating because then they make suffering a good thing, and it's obviously there is so many forms of unnecessary suffering. It's frustrating.
No, totally.
They just want us to deal with.
Yeah, I think it's also taking because I can understand how people that have gone through suffering and have come out on the other side of it can be like, oh wow, that suffering was something that was a lesson that I learned and took from it. Yeah. And I can understand that of but then the problem is when then they go back and say the suffering was necessary, or the suffering now my kid has to suffer the same way I did, otherwise
or
they
we shouldn't
won't
stop it.
Right. It's okay, it always goes back to domestic abuse, child abuse, all this stuff that you're what do you mean you used to beat literal children? I would tell my aunt and uncle, I was they were oh yeah, we'd smack my cousins all the time. I was like, that's child abuse. They're like, oh, yeah, okay, so progressive, the child abuse, everything child abuse. I'm like, no, I'm pretty sure if I smacked you, you wouldn't fucking like it. So at the end of the day, that's physical. That's also very Neanderthal to me. If you need to resort to violence, especially against a child, like, you're a fucking loser.
Yeah.
Like, you're a literal Neanderthal being like, ooh,
I agree.
I have to hit. I don't know how to talk about things, so I have to be violent.
Exactly.
It's like, are you a caveman?
Exactly.
What is that?
The most hilarious thing to me is when I was actually talking to somebody about that who was like Christian conservative, and I brought up studies that are showing that like hitting your kid doesn't help in any kind of way. And they didn't even want to look at the studies. I'm like, these are the same people that are like, facts don't care about your feelings.
Right.
But if it comes between you and hitting your kid, then it's a problem. Yeah. It's like, that's so weird. Yeah. That's so weird. But at the same time, in Christianity, if they're telling you that you actually deserve to burn in hell for all of eternity just because you're not a perfect person, it's like, yeah, I guess they will have those views, because the whole thing is so toxic of like, we deserve it. We deserve
and the romanticizing of like, oh, my child will not learn unless they feel the pain, and then they'll know not to do it. It's like, you do realize there's better ways to go about that, right? Like, there's therapy, there's things like gentle parenting, there's things like treating a child like another human adult because they are not adult, sorry, another human, because they are. They are another human. Right. You can't just like, people are so quick to look at kids and be like, well, they're not real adults. Like, they're not adults, therefore they don't matter. It's like, but they're still sentient things.
Yeah.
It's this,
and a lot of them won't even believe in stuff like therapy, as insane as that sounds. No, which 100%. Is so, because they normally need it the most. I'm like,
true.
I was actually surprised at the pushback I got when I started going to therapy years ago, because I didn't even know that people in my life had that opinion until I started going. And then I was like, what the hell are you guys talking about? Like, why would you have an issue with someone in going, like, getting, like, mental health help? And on top of that, don't get me started on the reaction when I started antidepressants. You like, what, I thought I killed somebody.
Of course.
And it's like, it's so frustrating, because it's like, screw you. You're not living my life.
Right.
But they want to monitor everybody. And again, goes back to politics. It's just so frustrating.
For sure. Because my mom, it's interesting because with my mom, I feel like I had to at some point I had to like cut her off for a little bit at the like request of my therapist, because she was like, this is toxic. You need to like set boundaries. And I did. And she now me and her's relationship is much, much better. It's weird. It's gotten like way better the more I've grown up. It's really, I'm really glad it's gotten to this point. And I think I think honestly, it's because the more I look at like how my mom was raised, she was raised very Catholic. She grew up in Poland. I grew up in Italy. I like was born in Italy, lived there for 7 years, and then moved to the US. And I grew up in Rome. So I literally, for my kindergarten, I went to a kindergarten led by nuns. You know what I mean? Like it's the most Catholic place you could like think of.
Right.
And my mom still like goes to church and stuff. But like she's kind of a little bit of the black sheep of the family in a weird covert way, because she's not, she I think still, she's gone through the motions for so long that she's like, she can't like not go to church. I don't know. It's a weird comfort thing for her.
Right. But like a cultural thing.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, like we've had discussions and I'm like, Mom, you really think that Mary somehow was, got like is a Virgin Mary? And my mom's like, no, I think it's a 14-year-old girl who was raped or had sex and ended up getting pregnant and didn't know what else to say.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, okay, so you're right. Like I'm like, so it's confusing to me because I'm like, you raised me to be atheist. Like you know what I mean?
Right.
So I think I had a much easier time to deconstruct because I wasn't ever really like, she like made me go to religion school to get my confirmation and whatever, like to go through the motions. But at the end of the day, she never hit me. She never like really instilled. She was like, it's almost like she's like a covert atheist, but like can't fully come to terms with it because she's like, what if? I don't know. What if it's all real? I'm like, sure. I'm pretty comfortable with the knowledge that it's not real. Like I just don't, you know what I mean? So I'm like, I don't mind, but I'm like, I don't think it's that. Having discussions with her, I'm like, you agree that there's a lot of stuff. Like she's like, oh yeah, priests left and right will utilize things to try to say that, like, she was like, oh, a priest in my like hometown. She grew up in a really small hometown. And actually, I do wonder if my mom is the way she is because she left from her really small town in Poland to move to Italy. And then we moved to Chicago. Now I live in LA. But like, she traveled a lot. She did a lot on her own. She met a lot of other new people. So I think that she's like this weird mix of like, she's religious for herself. She doesn't really care what anyone else does. And for a while, she was always like, you can't tell the rest of our family that you're not atheist, that you're atheist. They're going to like make you feel terrible. And I was like, Mom, I don't care. Like, I actually don't care whatever it is that they have to say about it. And also, like, the more candidly we talk about it, the more she's like, yeah, there was a priest in my, small town that had a mistress. And whenever everyone found out, of course, they were like, well, he's a man and man makes mistakes. And the poor man just like succumbed to the succubus that was that woman. She was probably wearing a skirt and he couldn't help himself. You expect a man to not go after a lady in a skirt? You're asking too much of this poor man. He needs to have self-restraint. Right. That's not how men were created. And it's like, okay, so let's like call bullshit when we see it. And so like my mom's able to very quickly call bullshit when we see it, but then she can't go all the way to being like, but she'll still like uphold the traditions. And I'm like, great. If you want to go to church and do that and it makes you feel good, gives you the community you feel you want to have, that's awesome. But like, I appreciate the fact that I can speak to my mom about these things and she's not like, la, 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 no one talk to me because got it. She's just kind of like, okay, that's your belief and that's cool. I'm like, great.
After I became atheist, I never knew people call them like cultural Christians, where it's kind of like about just keeping tradition and like being in that specific culture. But it was interesting because I was at a bar one time and there was an older guy like sitting beside me. It was like a little grandpa. And I started talking to him and he was telling me about how he was Catholic and stuff. And then I was like asking him like, do you really like believe it or whatever? And he was like, no. I was like, what? And that was like the first time I've met someone who was like, this is just what we do. Like, this is what my family does. This is how I have community. It makes sense, like, to me that would be a thing. But I just never knew that because the way I grew up, it was, like, such a serious thing. Right. It was, like, all about, quote-unquote, personal relationship type thing. And I feel like everyone believed it. But, yeah, I discovered that's not always the case. Like, if someone's presenting that way, they could very much not believe in some of it. But yeah, it's very much a like conforming thing. I feel like a lot of times of this is just what we do and this is like the tradition. So yeah, that makes sense.
I wonder if it has to do with the fact that because Catholicism, it's very interesting because I never really understood the main difference between Catholicism and Christianity. They're like the same man, wearing different hats. Yeah. But I feel like my understanding is Christianity is much younger than Catholicism. Catholicism is like the older one, and a lot of people say Catholicism is the more rigid one because it has all the like rites and rituals or whatever. If you want to do all of them, but at the end of the day, I think because Catholicism has been around for a much longer period of time, and similar to a lot of these much older religions like Hinduism, Buddhism, Judaism, like all of these other ones, there's a lot more people are willing to be like, that's part of the culture of like, where what my family does. But at the end of the day, it's like, I don't fully subscribe to everything about it. I think what the toxic part of it is the fact that that the evangelical Christianity is a weird, like, it's like a mutt hybrid of a newer version that is just very, hissy for everyone else. Like, they just want to hate everyone, and it's like, why is every other religion able to just chill?
And it's so funny because I was always, like, I don't know much about, like, Catholicism, but I remember growing up, it was always Catholics aren't Christians. Yeah. And I was like, okay.
You both believe in Jesus, you both believe in the Bible, you both believe in God. But
I know.
Sure.
It was so interesting because I was like maybe a tween at some point, and I was talking to this girl, and she was like, said something about being Catholic, and I was like, oh no, I'm Christian. She's like, Yeah, me too. And I was like, what? And I was so confused because my family was so, like, that's how evangelicalism is. They're so, like,
I'm not
we're
like
doing
other
it
girls.
the right way.
Yeah.
I'm not like other girls. I'm worse. No, but they're very much like that. And I don't think a lot of people who are evangelical realize that it's such a new, like that and rapture theology and the whole Left Behind thing, that is very, very new. And so is the fundamentalist part where the earth is only 6,000 years old and every single thing in the Bible actually happened. And I thought when I started like questioning things, I was so shook to realize that so many Christians didn't think the stuff in the Bible actually happened. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, how can you be Christian and say that stuff didn't happen? All of this stuff like clicked to me that, oh, this shit is new. Like, very new, like 100 years new or a couple hundred. And it's just so, I think that bothers a lot of evangelicals when they do hear about that, but I don't think they hear about it very often, honestly.
No,
if they're in their own
that
circles,
it's the divine truth that's been around for as long as the earth's been around, which is apparently 6,000 years. It's wild.
Exactly. And they also don't realize that about rapture theology and how they are with all of that stuff, that's not very, very old either. But I do think if you come out of evangelicalism, that part is very comforting because you're like, even if any of this is true, you guys don't know what the fuck you're talking about. You're such a baby to it. You know what I mean? Like this is also such a new version that there's no way you guys are right. If anybody's right, it's definitely not you.
For sure. Exactly. It's not like you guys, and also like just how many times we've seen people take full advantage of the Christian belief system. Like it really is such a ripe environment for people who grifters and manipulators and sociopaths and people who just want pastors at mega churches. I think you got to be some fucking megalomaniac weirdo fucking power hungry psychopath to be like. They just want.
And most of them are doing weird shit.
Yeah.
Most of them are doing really weird shit. Like when I learned about do you know who Jerry Falwell Jr. is?
No, but I want to look it up.
He was like the president of Liberty. You know Liberty University, the Christian college. Uh-huh. It's like it's a very, very popular Christian college. And his Jerry Falwell Sr., the man who founded Liberty University. They're also very involved with like the Heritage Foundation and all of that. Like it's all fucking connected. But so the guy who created that college, actually for a while he had his own school that was like a segregated school even after desegregation, because that's when a lot of the Christian schools popped up, is because they didn't want Black students in their like white Christian schools. So they would say like it's against their religious rights and all of it. It's so interesting, but it's so insane. Yeah. Anyways, so that was the founder of Liberty. So you already know that school is like fucked up because what the fuck is that? But then his son took over, and there's actually a whole documentary based around his son because he was in some scandalous.
I'm sure.
It's called God Forbid.
Okay.
It's called God Forbid, but no, he did some really weird stuff. And it's just that stuff always comes out. And I think it's because one of the reasons I think some of them end up being some real freaks is because they're told everything's so taboo. And so it just, if you know what I mean,
it like makes them want to go crazy for
do it more.
It's like if you're raised not having any candy and then you could finally have candy when you're out of the house, you overdo it. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. It's exactly that. But it's crazy the amount of did you see Shiny Happy People with you know who the Duggars are?
Yes.
Yeah. There's a
I read the book. I read the book by the eldest girl, one of the girls.
Oh, really? Yeah. I forget her name, but I know who you're talking about.
It's a good book. I forgot what it's called too, but it was a great book. And it was talking about
No, sorry, go ahead.
No, how like the older brother with the lots of really weird kitty stuff. Not great.
But the second season of that show really shows how the like evangelical movement became an like authoritarian movement. It's super interesting, but yeah, there's so much to that.
For real, for real.
It's overwhelming.
Yeah, I was gonna say we could probably do like a whole other episode on it. I have a lot of like different books by these people. I'll try to like dig them up and I'll send you a text about it because there's a couple of these books that I've read all about these people that grew up in a system like that and then wrote about it later. It's even if it's weird because not all of them they don't all go to like, oh, and then now I don't believe it at all. A lot of them will try to hang on to some semblance of like, oh, Christianity is good. It's just the way that my family did it was bad.
Right.
So that's a little interesting, but definitely, yeah, when it gets to like, it does weird things to people where they feel very like they can't, I don't know. But like, yeah, there's a lot of like them trying to say that whatever they're doing isn't bad because
projection.
Yeah,
lots
of projection.
And like, yeah, it's also horrifying how many of these like types of people tie into Trump and the administration because like Liberty University, I think Trump went and spoke there. Like they're so involved with each other, and it's so funny watching. It's not funny because it's happening, but you know what I mean. You gotta laugh at it because it's just so insane. But you see the most corrupt people like on planet Earth making alliances with each other and then being the face of Christianity, and you're just like.
Like,
how are they so blind to all of this? Because I think that a lot of evangelicals truly believe what they're saying.
Yeah.
And I think Trump doesn't give a single shit about Christianity. And I think he just knows they're an easy target 100%. And they will defend him no matter what. And so he's like, hell yeah, I love evangelical. Yeah.
It's like, okay.
Exactly. And he wrote, it was so interesting when he wrote that entire White House page on protecting Christians. And I'm like, oh, he did this
He's
for
pandering. He's pandering.
Yeah.
Hardcore.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that is that's wild. Also, the fact that the RNC, like during the RNC, Grindr crashed.
Yes, I've heard that. I haven't ever looked into it, but
like,
that's crazy.
What bothers me that this actually really fucking pisses me off is the fact that there are the most vocal fucking people against like gay rights are almost always the ones that hate themselves, like have such a deep hate for why they themselves might be questioning. It's like, like, okay, it's just wild to me that they're like, and it always comes out. There's been like several Congress people that are like, oh, and then it turns out he was talking to this like twink online, and it's like, and they're the ones that have put in all of the like anti-gay, like gay people can't get married. No, gay people shouldn't exist. It's almost like they think, oh, if I can roll back all of these rights, then I'm gonna stop being gay. It's like, no, how about you just like go to therapy and figure out how to be happy with yourself, and don't make it everyone else's problem. Like,
I know they're always making it everyone's problem. It's the same with the like men who are constantly slut shaming women and saying stuff about them, and then they're having affairs with like on their wives, and it's just like all of it. It's almost always some weird ass projection. I just have to roll my eyes at
for sure because at that point, projection to me is very weirdly like Uno reverse, and it's the most like at that point, I'm like, oh, you've like really lost the plot. Like you're at this point now trying to tell me that I'm like, what? I think I'm now you're getting so many wires crossed that I can't even follow what the fuck's going on because your line of logic is so skewed and convoluted. And like, it's just like the main thing about how Jesus would help and take care of like the poor, but then you have like, God forbid a Christian church would fucking let homeless people in during the cold. You know what I mean? Like there's, I'm like, those things, I'm like, how are we explaining that, everybody?
I saw a like very, I don't know what word I want to use, but very direct turn for evangelicalism whenever during the Super Bowl, I don't know if you remember this, there was the He Gets Us commercial.
I don't think.
So it was a commercial of basically Jesus, and he was washing the feet of all different people. So it'd be like a gay person, a trans person, a homeless person, like the whole humility thing of like washing other people's feet. So they ran that commercial, and the amount of evangelicals that were pissed off saying that Jesus would never do that to those type of people. He would only do it for Christians. And in my mind, I was like,
oh my God,
I was literally... I know. I was like, I was literally taught the exact opposite all growing up.
Literally.
And but that's when it was like very clearly laid out to me. That's like, oh, this is the direction y'all are going now. Where it's always been an in group versus out group, but it was just like so much more like, no, God doesn't love gay people. God doesn't love homeless people. God doesn't love and it's like, okay, I guess that's where we're at now.
God doesn't love everybody then.
Yeah, no, exactly. The thing that they've always said, all of a sudden it was like, no, he actually doesn't love us all the same. It's like, okay, well,
yeah,
got it.
You're just changing the source material at this point. Like, what?
Exactly.
Yeah, it's really bizarre. Oh my goodness.
Well,
I feel like the last, this discussion has been amazing. First of all, I love talking to you about this.
Yeah, it's
so good. I think it answers more of the question of like, what's your personal like phenomena, right? Because that seems like obviously you explained how you like grew up in kind of a Christian household and how you've like been able to kind of gain clarity from it. So I feel like I'd love to end on what your favorite cryptid is, because I know you mentioned you're crocheting cryptids, or what is that?
Yes. I was going through a book where I really love to crochet like stuffed animals or plushies or whatever. Yeah. I love it so much. And my favorite one I've done so far, so I did crochet my friend a Mothman because that is her favorite. Cute. And I think my favorite one I've done so far was if I'm saying it right, a leshy, the skull head with the like green leafy body type thing. I really liked making that. It was interesting.
Yeah. Ooh, I gotta add that. Ooh, I need to add this to my...
I don't know a lot about the like behind story on it, but I just like the way it looked, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he looks like a little forest demon, and I kind of love it. It says Leshy is a tutelary deity of the forest in pagan Slavic mythology. Ooh, I love this. We definitely need to do an episode on this. This is great. I
was just going to say go ahead.
No, you go for it.
I was just going to say anything like forest like that can be like elves, fairies, leshy, whatever. I just love that type of thing.
Yes, dude. I have like this little fairy.
Stop!
There,
I love it.
And then
I love that. That's so cute.
Yeah, my whole sleeve is very like woodland, like.
I love that Luna moth.
Yeah,
is that a Luna moth?
It is.
I love that.
Thank you.
I'm obsessed. I love that.
But yeah, I think I was playing this game on the Switch called Cult of the Lamb. It's really good. It's fun.
I don't play it, but I've seen it.
It looks fun. There's a boss that you fight whose name is Leshy, and so now I'm wondering they must have taken it from this cryptid.
Did he have a skull face? Or not really? It's just called Leshy.
Well, his name is Leshy, but the design, I feel like it had to do with, I don't know. I have to look it up.
That's interesting.
But it'd be weird if his name was Leshy and it didn't have anything to do with it, right? That's like a very specific name.
I'm sure it did.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really fun. I'm definitely gonna add that to our cryptids that we need to cover off on. Because now I feel like we've done all the classic ones like Yeti and Bigfoot and Loch Ness Monster and Mothman and all that. Now I feel like we on Christmas Eve we released an episode on Krampus, which was fun.
I watched the Krampus movie this year. It was really fun. Yeah. I really liked it because it's funny, Krampus is also in that crochet book, but I think he's really fun.
Yeah.
I like it.
Agreed.
He horrifies me.
Me too.
Honestly.
He has chains and eats children. He should horrify everyone. He's not a very nice guy.
Also, this past year I had went to Universal, their horror night or whatever, and they actually had one of their houses were themed like some kind of Nordic thing, but they had leshies in there, and they had these big skulls, and they were on stilts. They were horrifying, but so cool. But I just remembered that they were in there too.
Yeah,
they're fun.
Sounds amazing. That sounds so cool. I need to look more into the iconography of Leshy because it sounds badass. I love this.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Also, just, right before we end, if you'd like to promote where people can follow you and follow along and all the different platforms. Yeah.
Yeah, I am on TikTok a lot, chronically online on TikTok, but I've been working more on growing my YouTube and longer form content on there. And just most of it is deconstruction and talking about Christian nationalism and sometimes the history of Christian nationalism and how it ties into our politics today. And then I also just talk about politics in general. And what else? Oh, I'm also a host on a show called The Line, where it's more deconstruction / religious stuff. So if you guys ever interested in live shows, I do live shows there on Tuesday nights at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time if you ever want to drop by. But
where
that's where you can find me.
Is that in person?
No, like it's just kind of like this remote. With like another person and then people call in.
Oh, okay, cool. And what platform is that on? YouTube as well?
YouTube, and it's called The Line. They have multiple different shows. The one I'm on is called Chewed Gum, and it's mostly about purity culture, like the thing they say about girls, like if you have sex, you're a chewed up piece of gum.
Oh my God, yes.
It's that kind of thing.
Wow, yeah. That's great. Oh, I love that. And then it's same Skeptical Heretic on TikTok and YouTube, both same.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yep, on both.
Awesome. Yay.
But thanks for having me on. I had so much fun.
Agreed. Likewise. Oh my goodness, this was great. I really appreciate you being able to coordinate and go through all the technical difficulties and whatnot.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you so much. And I will talk to you soon, I'm sure. Thank you so much.
Okay, yes.
Yay.
Bye.
Bye.